everyone. This is Faith at Faith and Books. How are you doing? I am going to talk about my September plans. So first of all, this is the first day since Sunday evening that my grandkids haven't been here. They stayed Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday night and went home Wednesday afternoon. My daughter had her baby. She's doing well. The baby is perfect. And she had her on Monday. And so anyway, we were watching the kids. So today is kind of a blissfully quiet day. I'm not even, usually I take my grandson to school in the mornings, but his mother's hours have shifted. So she's taking him to school in the morning. So it's really nice. I mean, I love taking care of my grandkids, but it's nice to have a little break too. And that's what's going to happen for me for this fall semester is what I'm thinking of it in my head, because I'm not going to be doing the regular child care that I've been doing. I became a grandmother just as my children were moving out of the house. I was finishing homeschooling as my now 9-year-old grandson came to live with us. And so I just had childcare, and then I started being nanny to my now 6 and 3-year-old grandson. So I've always had children around, and which has been a blessing and wonderful. But this coming semester, I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm going to have a lot of free time. So in September, I have kind of ambitious plans. And like I said in my last video, I'm currently reading 5 books, and they're all going to carry over into September. So I'm reading, on my Kindle, I'm reading Tolkien and the Great War. Let's see, where can I put these? I'm started reading The Big Six. I've gotten this far, which is book number 9 in the Swallows and Amazon series. For the Theology Book Club, I'm reading selected writings by Eberhard Arnold. I'm working my way through that. And then I'm also reading Truman by David McCulloch. And I hope to finish this in September, and I'm going to follow it up with this book, The Quest for Shakespeare, The Bard of Avon, and the Church of Rome. So it's from a Catholic perspective. It's by Joseph Pierce. This will be a reread. So this is my participation, part of my participation in Shakestember, which is an event that happens every September where you read Shakespeare. The prompts vary. The hosts are Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, her husband Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, and Nicole at A Day of Small Things. And I haven't really been following along what their prompts are or what they're doing, because I just have my own thing that I'm going to do regardless. So I'm going to read this or reread this. I really like this book because I read Will in the World, which is this compendium of every kind of theory about Shakespeare that anybody ever came up with. And I found it very dissatisfying. And then I read this, and this guy has an understanding of Shakespeare, and it's within this structure. It's seeing him through the eyes of Catholicism, and I found it much more satisfying. And so I'm going to reread this. I've been wanting to reread it for years. So that's Shakestember. I'm also going to read some sonnets, maybe a couple a week, because I'm not very familiar at all with William Shakespeare's sonnets. So I'm going to do that instead of reading a play. And then the third thing I want to do to participate in Shakestember is to watch at least a couple of Hamlet film versions. Last year, Kelly and her husband Jason did that. They watched several versions of Hamlet and compared them. And I thought, that's a really good idea. So I'm hoping I can do that with my husband, at least get a couple in. So that's Shakestember. It's reading some sonnets, reading these books, reading this book, rereading this book. Let me take a sip of tea. I'm a little bit tired today. And then trying to watch some versions of Hamlet. So that's for Shakestember. That's my September plans for that. And then, and I'm going to read that after I finish Truman. Then after I finish this book, A Time of Gifts by Patrick Leigh Fermor, I am going to try to read Dove Descending by Thomas Howard about the 4 quartets, because starting today and between now and the end of August, I am going to read the 4 quartets by T.S. Eliot, and then eventually follow it up after I read A Time of Gifts with this Thomas Howard's analysis of it. So let's see, he was, doesn't say where he's a professor of English and literature, but he was a professor of English and literature for over 30 years, and he wrote a lot of books. So, okay, so that's that. Then there are other events happening in September. So there's Framed in September, and I will link to the person that I follow that's hosting it. I think more than one person is hosting it, but I just saw this one video on it. And even before I had remembered about Framed, about this is the second year, I think. And it's a reading event where you read about artists, or you read about art. Even before then, though, I kept wanting to go to art galleries because I am reading A Time of Gifts, and he makes so many artistic references, talks about architecture, art history. So it's got a lot of that going on, and it made me want to go. I haven't been to an art gallery in so many years, so I would really like to go. And I'm hoping my husband and I can have a date, because he's now partially retired. So maybe during the day when the 4th grader is at school and we have an open day, we could go into town and go to an art gallery and maybe eat lunch. It would be kind of nice. So I'm hoping to do that in September. And I'm going to finish reading this in September. So that'll be part of the Framed reading event. But then also I've heard about 2 events in September that one of them is called Shorty September, which I don't know very much about, but I've heard of it. And then because I've been following Luminous Libro, she talked about reading 30 books in 30 days, which I think is kind of the same principle as Shorty September. So I don't quite know the difference, but she inspired me to come up with this idea, because this will be a combination of Framed, like focusing on art, and reading 30 books in 30 days in September. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read 30 picture books. Because I have a vast picture book collection. I wish it was better than it is, but I must have at least 100 picture books. And I picked out 30. And the ones I'm going to show you now, I think the video would get too long if I showed you all 30. So I'm going to do just 12 of them today, and then make another video to show the other ones that I'm going to read during September. But I have an idea of certain ones that I want to read, and why I want to read them when. So I thought I would start with these. So yeah, 30 picture books in 30 days. So the first one is this one, which I purchased a year or 2 ago because Dover was having a sale. And I started to read it last October, and I didn't get very far. I guess I just got distracted. But it's been sitting up on the desk in my bedroom for like a year. And I thought, I really should just get around to reading it. So, The Magic Fishbone by Charles Dickens, and the illustrator is I thought it was a woman, Lewis. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. I always read that as either Lois, where is it, or Louise, but it's Lewis. Okay, so Louis Slobodkin, there he is right there with the mustache and beard. He was really popular illustrator in, I think, the 40s, maybe the 50s. He illustrated, I remember, the Ginger Pie books, and he did, what is it called? Many Moons by James Server. He did, so he is, it's not really artsy, it's kind of cartoonish, but there's something very enchanting and charming about his, and very, there's a lot of energy there. So it's very engaging for children. So he's a well-known illustrator. So I'm going to read this book on September 1st. I'm going to start off with that and read a book that I bought a year or 2 ago and have never gotten around to reading. So yeah, so that's the first one for September 1st. And then I have a picture book. Let me take a sip of tea. I have a picture book that I have been getting out regularly, I don't know, the last 10, 12 years. and it's still in pretty good shape. And this is St. Jerome and the Lion. I read this every September 30th because that's his feast day. St. Jerome, as you might not know, or you may know, he translated the Bible into the Vulgate, into Latin, that the more people were reading. I mean, not everybody was literate back then, but the ones who were could read Latin. And so he translated the Bible into the Vulgate. And well, I have a soft spot for him also because he was known as a cranky saint. He would get cranky. And I can be very cranky, especially when I'm sleepy. So I just felt a bond with St. Jerome when I heard that. But in this book, he's very wise and patient. And this is a legend about him and this lion. And it's a secular press. It's retold by Margaret Hodges, illustrated by Barry Moser. And the illustrations are exquisite. They're just so beautiful. Let me see if I can find, there's one stunning one about, yeah. There's a lion. They're just really, you want any glare on that? Can you see that? They're just beautiful, beautiful illustrations. There's St. Jerome, copying out the Bible, and the lion is keeping him company. They're just exquisite drawings. So I love the art in here. So I have this theory about what happened to art. I have no idea. This is just my own that I came up with. So art, used to be for the common man. And then it got more and more elitist, post-industrial revolution, and all the modern stuff coming on. And it became more deconstructionist, and they were just trying to, expand ideas or explode concepts, and became much more subjective and kind of reductionist. And, it became like, you had to be sort of part of this artsy-fartsy crowd in order to be in on it, And a lot of the common people couldn't relate to art anymore. Now, I actually like some modern art, I really do. But I do think a lot of it is just, it's just performance, and it's just, I think they forgot the certain universal principles about art that would, be meaningful to everyone. And they just sort of wanted to speak to their own kind of audience. It got very elitist, So I think a lot of people who had more of their calling to be an artist spoke more to the common man rather than the elite artsy group. They went into children's illustration, and there's so many wonderful children's illustrators. It's just wonderful. And so I think this Barry Moser is one of them. Just absolutely exquisite drawings in there. And what I think I notice is, well, there's so many different ways of expressing yourself visually, but or telling a story visually. And I really like when the best of modern art meets like folk art, because I think somehow they circle around and meet each other again, because folk art tends to be, it's considered more primitive. So it's more about color and just sort of not about being realistic, but conveying a warmth about people or creation and pattern. So color, pattern, and sort of evoking warmth or delight. So that's when those two things combine, I think it goes well, even in children's books. Some of the ugly modern art, though, has kind of infected some children's books, too. I don't have any of those here, I don't think. And you can go two ways. You can go kind of cartoony and whimsical and goofy and kind of silly, and I have some books like that. Or you can go like just beautiful art, like here. So this would be September 1st, this is September 30th to celebrate St. Jerome. Then September 5th is the feast of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And this, again, is a secular artist, but Demi does absolutely exquisite work. So this is a book on Mother Teresa. And it's just It's just stunningly beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. And there's a lot of text on the side. So this is quite a lot of, it's almost not for children. I mean, it's got the beautiful art in it, but the text is like a little bit above that. Let's see. They're taking care of children. So anyway, so I think the cover is just wonderful. And so I'm going to read this on September 5th. And then on September 14th is a very old feast day of the church. In fact, even the Eastern, it was before the Great Schism. Way back in whenever it was when Constantine's mother, Helen, went to the Holy Land and supposedly discovered the true cross. And where she found the true cross, they built a church over it. And the dedication of that church was September 14th, a long time ago. And ever since then, we've been honoring the cross on that day, September 14th. And so I thought, I have a number of alphabet books, and I have one here. And now this is this is a Catholic publisher, Tan Books. This is an alphabet book about Catholicism. So it's E. E is for Eucharist, a Catholic ABC, and it's got gorgeous illustrations in it too. It's illustrations by Anna Maria Crum. It's just beautiful. Beautiful art in here. It goes through, you can see, just beautiful. So I think I'll read this on September 14th to honor that. And then I have other alphabet books. So I was thinking that September 22nd is fall, so I'll start reading fall books, like picture books that evoke fall and even winter after September 22nd. So I think on September 22nd, I might read this one. P is for pumpkin, God's Harvest Alphabet. This is Zonder Kids, so this is a Christian publication. Look at that. Look at those leaves. I love the illustrations in here as well. They're just beautiful. And this is all about, celebrating God's gift of creation in fall. And it's just so charming, just really charming. So that'll be the one maybe on September 22nd, because that's the first day of fall. And then I have other alphabet books, because my 6-year-old grandson, like when he was a little bit younger, for about 3 years, he was fixated on the alphabet. He just loved the alphabet. So I bought a lot of alphabet books. So I have this one. F is for feathers, a bird alphabet. This is, who published this? Sleeping Bear Press. Don't know who Sleeping Bear Press is, but it is full of detail and beautiful illustrations. And it really has a lot of text on each page. It's absolutely beautiful. But then over here, you see all this text? Let's see, hold on. So there's all this text on the page, and then the beautiful illustrations. So here you go. Just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. So at some point I'm going to read this one, and then I don't know quite what day I'm going to read that one. And then I have another one. I have a soft spot. This is also Sleeping Bear Press. So I guess I like their alphabet books. I have a soft spot for the Von Trapp family singers, and because, the Sound of Music. And so this is V is for Von Trapp. And this also, look at the beautiful house. This also has, using the alphabet, it's the same format. So there's just these beautiful illustrations, and then there's text telling the story. So just gorgeous. So I love those two alphabet books. So I'm going to read them at some point. But then during the fall season, September 22nd till September 30th, well, I know what I'm going to read on that one. But anyway, September 22nd through September 29th, I'm going to read these more autumnal or wintry books. This one is called Christopher's Harvest Time, which is appropriate for fall. And this illustrator, Elsa Beskow, she was a Swedish illustrator. She really reminds me of like Tasha Tudor or, oh, who's the other one? Kate Greenaway. Just really, really charming illustrations. Just beautiful. And this has quite a lot of story in it. And poetry. There we go. So this is very whimsical and, woodland fairy creatures and that sort of thing. It's poetry. So I think I'll read that after fall starts. And then I have 2 wintry books that I picked up. One is this one, Henry the Explorer, illustrated by Graham Booth. And we got this book when my now 4th grader was in preschool. I subscribed to Simply Charlotte Mason for their preschool program, and once a month you'd get a book and a bunch of other stuff to do, like an activity and a picture, some kind of painting, which he was never interested in. But we did like the books. And so this was one of them, Henry the Explorer. It's about a little boy who goes out in the snow and gets lost. And it has wonderful, wonderful illustrations too. So it's a nice story. So we really enjoyed this book. So that's a nice wintry one. And then this is a classic. It's a little beat up, but it's Katie and the Big Snow by Virginia Lee Burden. I would like to collect all her books like in hardback. I think that would be neat. But my kids loved this one. I think the first copy got beaten up, and then I got another one for the now 9-year-old. And we just love this one. It's like it really teaches you about the different people who make up a city, the firefighters and the police and the train station and all those. And they would just be so, her illustrations, they're not artsy, but they're wonderful. They're intriguing. They have a lot of energy, and there's a lot of detail in there. And yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. This is a great book. That's a classic. And then a couple more, because I'm really talking a lot. I'm trying to keep these things under 20 minutes, and I just can't seem to do it. But the last 2, I have a couple of other bird books too, but these are picture books that have to do with birds. This one is just gorgeous. Now this is more of what I was saying, like modern art meets sort of folk art. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is a retelling of a Zambian folktale about Blackbird. And I just was so taken with the illustrations. Yeah, so I'm going to read that. And then the last one I'm going to talk about today is The Boy Who Drew Birds, about John James Audubon. I actually read a grown-up biography of Audubon. He was very interesting. This has beautiful pictures in it as well, retelling his life story. Let's see if we can find another. Yeah. So those are 12 of the books I plan to read in September for 30 books in 30 days. And it's kind of also reflecting framed in September. So, all right, well, tomorrow I'll do the rest of the books. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.